do that one yet.
Oh.
Yes, we are live. Hello, hello. Happy Mother's Day to all the fabulous mothers out there. I'm a mother. I'm Jaaz, her mother.
My name is Genia, also known as Joyful Genia, and I'm her daughter. That way. As well as a mother.
It's such a delight to be here. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I know, me too. This is great. We couldn't be physically together for Mother's Day. This is nice to at least be able to connect virtually. It's like, here's a virtual hug. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Yes, I love it. I love it. So for those of you who might not know us, as I said, I'm Jaaz with my fabulous daughter, Genia from MaDnifcent. So those of you who have been following us through the years, some of you started out with us sometime back with Miracle Minded Monday. And if you know anything about Miracle Minded Mondays, we had a Monday gathering every week. Just sharing tidbits on really what it means to be miracle minded and living a joyful life. And we're continuing along that same vein. And so what's been really beautiful, we have been on our collective track, and Genia's been on the track, and I've been on the track, and I have everybody on the track of breathing and aligning their energy with the breath connection. So some of you have been following us on the breath connection. And Genia has been doing great things with creating a magical day. Yes, yeah. So now we are coming back together again, bringing all that joy and all that energy in what we call madness and miracles. So some of you know about the miracles, but you've been inquiring about the madness.
And inquiring minds want to know.
And we're going to share. You know, Genia and I, we've been on our individual and collective journey of, my daughter likes to call me the acronym junkie. So we've been in our moments of a deep in practice. And the dip is, we go in the valley sometimes. We all have those moments in the valley. Woo. Mm-hmm. And they can be challenging, Sometimes it just make you want to shave your head. I don't know about that. In case you haven't seen. That's another video for another time. But we just want to share our journey with you in some of the dips that we've been experiencing. Those of you that have been following us, we share tools and practices on mindfulness and aligning our energy. And it's by using the tools that we have been able to overcome. But we also recognize, just like you, just like everyone, those dips call us forward. And we thought that we would take you on a journey through the madness. And
are you ready?
Are you ready
for some authentic conversation? There's going to be some laughter. There will be some tears. There will be some aha moments. There will be some ... because that's who we are.
Yes.
People, they look at us and they say, oh, wow. Even individually, they look at us and say, you guys have it all together. You don't need anything. We wish.
Yeah.
Because of our practice, it does help us snap back a lot quicker. So when we do go through the valleys, we go through them and we do allow ourselves to go through them, but we don't stay as long as we have in the past, or as long as if you want to compare yourself to where we are. And then even in our relationship, we've had our ups and our downs. We've really come together and created this amazing relationship. And then we've had another dip, as my mom said, where I've had to go deep in practice to be able to deal with some things related to our relationship, which of course has impacted her. Why we came up with Madness and Miracles is to take you on a journey. It's not just about us. Yes, we are going to be talking about our journey, but it's for us as well as you to look at your own lives, your own relationships, to see where are areas that maybe you don't have enough information on and you're judging, right? Where are areas where you can let stuff go because it's not serving you? Where are areas where you can show more gratitude to go even deeper in that relationship? This is going to be a journey. It's going to be a fun journey. It's going to be a confusing journey, a clearing journey, a emotional journey. And we would love for you to go on a ride with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we want to start the journey off with what today is all about. Mad Miracles was birth of a mother and daughter relationship. It started out with my first book, In My Mother's Voice, which was a journey of the relationship between my mom and I, and our lessons of love and life. And it's continued on, passing on that torch. And so what better time to launch this new journey of mothers and daughters than on Mother's Day? And so we want to just share some Mother's Day memories, and just some magical Mother's Day moments, as well as talk about that mother that's lingering in our head. Well, when I think of moments, and especially thinking about my mom, your Mimi, and some of our great Mother's Day, there are two particular Mother's Day that come to mind for me, and one was, and I don't know if you remember how we used to always go out to Lake Travis and go to their Mother's Day brunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of Mom's favorite places because we loved being by the water. And I just remember just that wonderful feeling of just being by the water and sharing that time together, and just so many beautiful memories. And that was just one of the favorite Mother's Day brunch spots. Was going there, and then we ventured out, did a couple of other ones, but the other was out at River Place.
Mm-hmm. That's my most memorable one as well.
Yeah.
Where you had on like this very colorful dress, I remember.
Yeah,
I could see the dress right now.
Really flowy.
Yep. Looking like a whole rainbow.
Yes, see, that was Mom. That was Mom. Yes, she always just showed up like a rainbow, and I just see those pictures in my head, and that's why brunch is so sacred. Genia and I, that's one of our favorite things to do is like brunch together. If I don't have any other great meal, it's like brunch. And it's because it just brings back so many wonderful memories with my mom. And just us collectively as a family, that there was just something, people talk about soul food and that gathering around the kitchen, that's really memorable. And for me, it's about brunch. It's just, it's that time. It's like, that was just like the most special meal, that time to share. And when I think of Mother's Day, I think of Mother's Day brunch, and another one that was really special was, when I had my office at the Omni and they had the Jaaz.
I was thinking the same thing. The Omni brunches.
Woo!
That's the one time I'd eat at a buffet, okay? When we were going to the Omni.
Yes. So yeah, those just, oh wow, Mother's Day brunches just always warm my heart. And so consequently, whenever you and I get together and we have our brunches together, Mimi is always there lingering, because it was my mama that introduced me to mimosas. Yes, honey.
Well, thank you, Mimi, because my mom introduced them to me.
See, it is a family tradition, right? We pass on the mamamosas.
Hey.
Yes. So that's that's what really stands out for me when I think of my mom. Yeah.
You know what? It's funny that you bring those up because those are my most memorable Mother's Days as well. Like I know that there have been other ones, but when I think of Mother's Day, immediately those two are the ones that come up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought about the correlation between those brunches and then like how we brunch because like you said, it's so special
Yeah.
and it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, oh, let me just hurry up, let me sit down, let me eat, like let me go. Like it's such an experience. And I love how we've like expanded that to like our friends and our families, even if it's just us. But it's like it's an event, you know.
It is.
I don't
Yes.
know, like it's so undescribable, and I definitely associate, you know, you and I to okay, where are we going for brunch, and it just feels very special. And even though, like, yes, I do it with other people, it's so nice, like our mother-daughter connection when we
Mm-hmm.
are brunching. And
Yes.
like you said, maybe it is the root, you know, to me starting that, and then I think about all of our brunches at my house or y'all's house, whatever, you know. But when my dad used to cook the most amazing omelets in life, let me tell you guys, my daddy could take leftover food, okay, put it in the omelets, put some cheese on that.
And that omelet was everything. That
Mm,
omelet would give you some life, baby.
all
Yeah.
the way life, all the way. Daddy
Yeah.
miss them omelets. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's
So
just all, you know, all of those gatherings. And that's the thing, like you and I, we are very particular about the people that we do allow. Like we open our homes, like that's who we are. We open our homes to any and everybody because it is important for us, for everyone to feel special, you know. But in terms of like the closeness, the sacredness, I just love how we created these bubbles, you know, where people do feel safe
right.
to come and be authentic, to let their hair down or shave it off, and and just show up for the experience.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing when I mentioned, mom and brunch. I remember those for me starting back. The earliest I remember is being 2 years old.
Okay.
And it was something that my mom and I would do after church together.
Mm.
We'd go to brunch and, it was this time of dress up and, your Mimi, right? The hat, the glove, it was everything, right? And so as a little girl, because it was just mom and I was two. I could eat for free, you know? And so we would go and we would have these Sunday, and I always, oh my gosh, Genia, I just remember feeling like this little grown up, because I was the little Chris, and I was like, okay, I have to have my hat and my gloves, and I have so many memorable moments as a little girl. And my favorite thing to do, just like I do now, is to kick off my shoes. And so a couple of places that my mom and I used to love to go. There was a restaurant in Hollywood called the Brown Derby. Matter of fact, Mimi used to work there many years ago, and a lot of entertainers used to go there and hang out. And that was one of the places that mom used to love to go and take me. And we were there one Sunday, and I was introduced to Shirley Temples.
Ooh la la.
Yes, I was, that was my mimosa at the time. Okay. So my mom would get her mimosas. I would have a Shirley Temple. And I just know that those Shirley Temples had something in them. And I kicked my little shoes off, and we were leaving the restaurant, and the waitress came running after mommy. She's like, Miss, your daughter forgot her shoes.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
I always and the other most memorable one was at this restaurant called Room at the Top. I'm like,
Ooh.
oh yes, girl. Room at the Top. I don't even remember. Top of some hotel, some big building in LA. And it was a revolving restaurant. And so there was a guy, some of my old school peeps who may be on here long, long time ago. There was this guy named Jimmy Durante. Old guy, big nose, just like piano player, kind of comedian. And he was playing there. And I used to, hello, kid, how are you? It's like, that was right. And so I came in and he sat me up on top of the piano. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was Shirley Temple. And because we sang I stood on top of the piano singing It's a Good Ship, Lollipop. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I got to be just like the little star of the show. And so after I finished my debut, he sent that little lady a drink on me. And he sent me over Shirley Temple. And then he sent another one, and I was like, oh, Mom, another cocktail for me? Well, Genia, it's a revolving restaurant, right? So the room is
wow, you're getting dizzy.
I was like, Mommy, I can't have another cocktail because the room is moving.
No.
So those just became some of the most memorable moments in my life of sharing these brunches with my mother that just became epic. And, you know, wherever we go, and we go to commonly like those places that we were like you and I, we were here comes that mother and daughter that, you know, Genia, if I had $1 for every free Shirley Temple that I got, you know, I'd be set for life. But people would know, you know, send her, and, you know, Mom would end up getting a free mimosa because they just loved a little girl that would come in dancing and singing for Shirley Temple. So that just, you know, I always looked forward to those Sunday brunches because I always felt like it was just this really special bond. And so when you and I started having our brunches, it just carried on that specialness from my childhood and how it evolved. And that's the really interesting thing. And I know that's a big piece of like what we want to share is like, I witnessed through brunch, my relationship with my mother evolved from the cute little girl with a Shirley Temple to my mom and I sitting and sharing mimosas and talking grown woman talk and sharing dreams and life. And it was just about the brunch, you know, brunch just brought that out. It was like that special place where we would go to share and unmask and be ourselves and to reveal and do what we're talking about doing here in Madness and Miracles is, as my other mama san would say, get ready, get raw, get real. I mean, those were the times where my mom and I would just sit and just share like you and I do. We go and we share and just, it's that sacred moment to just be authentic and share what's on our heart and in our soul.
And I find that very interesting, the commonality that we've shared, like in terms of how you and your mom were able to connect, and it was very sacred and skin off time. And you and I, it's the same thing. And I know it wasn't like you were purposefully thinking, oh, I'm going to create the same situation my mom and I went through, you know, but it's very beautiful how you have been able to carry that over. And it is something that's very special. And it's a very real, raw moment. And it's like it's comfortable, right? It's almost like sitting on the sofa with a glass of wine and the fire behind you. You know, it's comfortable. You feel like it's a safe space. And that's what's interesting, because I found that a lot of people have been able to do that with brunches. It's like, yeah, it's a fun time, but it also seems like such a sacred space. And I think that's important in relationships to find that, whatever that is, that for me. And then also like food fests outside with the blanket.
Yes.
That's another thing that I associate with, you know, Mother's Day, with family gatherings, with, you know, vulnerability, also exciting times. It's so beautiful to be able to connect with people on that level, to like up level your relationship, and just to really learn to feel comfortable in your own skin around other people.
Yes, exactly. And which inspired our love circle and our miracle-minded brunches. Because, and the key word and what you just expressed and made me even think about, you know, our sharing is that safe space. And there was something growing up that was just very comforting and safe and sacred about those times. And so out of my own just level of comfort with just that environment, sharing that with you, it wasn't a conscious, oh, I'm going to take my daughter to brunch so we can have a safe space, but that it was just that place of ease and comfort that made it just very easy and natural for us to exchange and flow.
Right. And then from there, like when we think about, you know, our mothers in our heads, or things that we do like our mothers, is how I have made that a big part of my life, even outside of you, and creating that safe space. Or excuse me, and think about as a child, and gathering, and all the love that was, you know, in the home, people coming in and out, and how I've been able to do the same things.
Yes.
Our love for teaching. I remember when you ran the Seaco's program in the summer, and that one summer, oh my gosh, that is when I found my passion for teaching. I had the second graders, Michelle and I were co-facilitating, and it was so amazing to me. I never thought in a million years that I would ever want to go in the direction of like teaching, and then getting into training and training development. And it was so funny because one day I just kind of heard myself talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have so many similarities as my mom. It's crazy. I'm like, you know, like my love for gathering of people, my love for training, and then just like the different, like when when the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear. I said that one day and I was like, you know, or like the different, you know, I'm like, well, what is your intention? Where's your focused attention? You know, you want a divine retention? Let me explain that to you, you know? So it's funny through like our relationship and our dialogue, or just watching how when someone is so important to you, you spend so much time with them that in some ways you start to emulate them.
Right.
And I think about like our journey and some of the tidbits that I've learned from you, or just hearing you in my head, or even how I, you know, parent Jamaica, and some of the things that I've said in terms of like holding the space, or, you know, when things are ready, and, you know, not, you know, like not forcing, like I used to be like a very like forceful type of person, like you got to do it like this because it's how your life is, it's going to be better, you know. And then listening to some of the words that you've said and how you know, ask the questions, I find myself, wait, was it WWJS? What would Jaaz say? Where some of them might be like intentional, like, okay, my mom said some real good stuff, she say, or I might just say something and I'm like, I just said, and so when people have said, man, you sound like your mom, like I take it as a compliment, because like I know that you've impacted a lot of people's lives. But it's interesting because I'm like, wow, I do. I mean, one, from the sound of our voice, you know, we got those deep
voices,
manly feminine voices.
Sometimes people say, hello, Mr. Jones.
And no,
like, excuse me.
I mean, like, I know. It's not Mr. Jones. What are you doing? So going from that to just us wanting to, spread all this love to the world and sharing tools for people like to heal. Like that's another interesting thing for me too, is like our synchronicity and how, not that we quote do it the exact same way, but our intention, like we have very similar intentions when it comes to serving the world. And I think that is so neat. That's why I do take it as a compliment when people like talk about like our similarities. And I'm okay when they point out our differences. Yeah. Because I remember at one point I was like, well, don't compare me to my mom, because like, you're super dynamic and like you are very like inspiring and like, and like, when I get on stage, like I can talk and connect, but I'd be having all those butterflies. I'm like, I gotta contain all this. And I'm more like direct, like, let me give you a hug while I inspire you. So it's really neat because I feel like we mesh and work so well together. And it excites me about like our path and what we do have to share and what we're learning and growing and releasing along the way.
Right. And what's really interesting about what you just said. Wow. So, and this, when I first started in my mother's voice, when I first was, exploring titles, it was My Mother, My Daughter, Myself.
Yep.
And I'm listening to you share your story of reflection. And I was like, is she sharing hers or sharing mine? Or, yeah, because it's like when you mentioned about the Seco kids, that little did I know, I took you to work with whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
Genia has been to every art show, she's been my little assistant in the back of, whatever I was creating, she was right there. And I picked that up from my mom because my mom took me everywhere, right? That's why I was able to connect and relate. And my mom used to do these summer camps. And she was a partner in a modeling studio, and she had this program called the 3 Ps. And she was a quote motivational speaker before they even had the title, right? Before that was a thing. And I remembered how, these kids would just relate, they love my mom. And it was a summer youth program that I used to go to, and I became my mom's assistant and I think we were about the same age. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna, in my head, I'm gonna do these. Oh, I love doing this. And that's what started me to doing workshops and things, was following my mom. And the same thing about the comparing, people usually, oh my gosh, like, I'm my own person, I'm not. and I, and the time, oh, you're Celeste Dorsey's daughter, right? And being in my teen years of wanting my own independence and being seen as myself, but also growing to that place of appreciating the comparisons as well as the differences, because we did have our own style. Right. And what I appreciated about my mom, and I've hoped that I have extended to you as well, is that my mom never tried to make me conform to her way,
right,
her style. It was, do you, boo, but do the best you that you can do, and where I can support you in that, I'm going to support you in that. And when you fall down, I'm here to support you, but I'll never stop you from falling down, right? And just always supported me in being myself, and that's what I seek to do. I mean, you are your own creative, magical brand, absolutely. And I love the woman that you are and that you are becoming. And I see. And even as a child, it's like I could see the reflections of all of your influences. I could see that little bit of your dad and a little bit of me, as well as your Mimi, as well as your grandma Norvell. I can see these little flickers, but there has always been, from the moment you open your bright, beautiful eyes, that spark, that's Genia. And just Genia, that regardless of the influences, you have always been a magical miracle princess. Even before you discovered all of that, that is just, that was you as a baby, and who you are. And I was listening to our dear sister Adrian, and for those of you who may be following us, Adrian is another like-minded, like-hearted sister who has a podcast, Let's Start Healing. And yesterday she was doing a reflection talking about her mom, who's also her greatest influence, and said how her mom had expressed to her at one time, don't let anybody change who you are. She was having an argument with her brother, and her brother had said something, and she was sharing with her mom, and she said her mom told her, never ever let anyone change who you are. And that to me is just such an echo of our expression, is that and as we often reflect and share, is the power of holding the space.
Right.
And I think that's the most beautiful dynamic that we can share, one as a parent, but most importantly, just as human beings. But when I think of it as a parent, I'm very reflective of Khalil Gibran's passage in the Prophet on children, that your children are not your children. They come through you, not from you. For your children are the reflection of tomorrow's promise. And where they are, you can never go. But just as our master loves the arrow that is swift, so he loves the bow that is stable, right? And so there's value and appreciation of both. But the bow that is stable, that parent, it's holding that space. It's holding the space that as our children go in their direction, as they spring forward, as they stumble and fall, as they become who they are becoming, that we trust that we, it's like, I trust you to be you, and hold that space. And when we can hold the space, and very particular, because we're talking about sharing our journey and where we are, when I think of being the parent of an adult, that it's learning, as parents, we have to learn how to go from parenting children to partnering as adults. And I think that's the distinction is, girl, you don't need me to parent you anymore. Though I'll always be your parent, but it's sharing in a place of partnership where I hold the space and honoring the woman that you are, knowing that just like as all children and as my child, you're still going to stumble and fall. Because just like my mama's baby, I still stumble and fall. It's how we approach our adult relationship, I believe, that really expands and deepens the bond of being able to, going back to holding that space. And that space is about that space of trust and honoring, that we trust even beyond ourselves, that divine, that divine that brought you through me knew even greater than me what your journey was.
And to me, that's what motherhood is.
Yes.
I mean, I've definitely learned that parenting Micah, supporting Lisa, is you have to leave the space for your children to grow and flourish, because we don't know what's in their journey.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you don't support them and help with boundaries and, et cetera, ... But they, no matter what, will be their own person.
Exactly.
So how do you help them to cultivate who that person is? It's funny because sometimes I look at Mike, I'm like, who is he? You know, with certain decisions that he may make. 'Cause I'm like, he didn't get that from me. He didn't get that from his dad, you know? But like you said, he's his own person. He's his own journey. And then there are other times I look at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my mini.
Mini me.
So I would say as parents is it's sometimes it can be very challenging because we want our children to end up a certain type of way, but we barely have control over our own lives, right? So if we barely have control over our own lives, how are we going to control another person, and how does that feel? I can say for me as a parent, it doesn't feel good to try to control my child. What does feel good is identifying how I can support them the best way that I can as a mother. And I thank you because I've learned that along the way, not necessarily saying like I quote took that from your parenting, but I definitely experienced that to where I was able to implement that. Is I'm going to hold the space for you to be the person that you're going to be. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to let you know from my perspective, because it's mine, you know, maybe if I feel like there are areas where maybe you're not doing that things that are quite benefiting yourself. I'm not going to say a right or wrong, because I don't necessarily think that there's a quote right or wrong, but I do believe there's a benefiting yourself or not.
Right.
But even if you're doing something that's not benefiting yourself, you can still grow and learn from that. There's still lessons and blessings, and we don't know what that journey is for them, let alone our own journey. We're just navigating. And that's what we do in life. We navigate. Yes, we plan. Sometimes things come to fruition. A lot of times they don't. And it's how do we address those? And I think it's very important as parents to aid our children in how they address them. So then they can have higher emotional intelligence and help them to make decisions that feel healthy for them.
Exactly. You know, and something I'm also looking forward to as we share in the unfolding is not only are we parents, but we're people. And you know, something that you just expressed in terms of, though you may not have learned it from me, you learned it growing up within the dynamic of being with me, and that we learn what to do as well as what not to do as we grow from our experiences. And you know, one of the takeaways, you know, for me, and I think about growing up with my mom. And as you know, in the program that we created within Mad Miracles, the Mad Metamorphosis, that the first dynamic is imagine a girl who, which was, and it wasn't something that I thought of, oh, let me create this program, but it was the concept of imagine a girl who that created such a dynamic healing for me with respect to my mom, because you know, for those of you who are just joining the journey and wondering about the journey, in my first book, I write about my mom's nervous breakdown and being the child, being a 7-year-old child of a mom who's experienced a nervous breakdown and experiencing that, and my mom, you know, having manic depression and so all of the dynamics that come with that, and that exposure and experience brought me to where I am today. And in the words of Maya Angelou, I wouldn't take nothing for my journey. Ooh, but let me tell you, did that shit get tough sometimes? You better, whoa, honey.
Right.
Baby, sometimes when that woman was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live anymore. I was like, can you like grow up and get a life? And so in the midst of all of that, I went through this process of a child of feeling very responsible and the desire to take care of my mother and make sure that she was emotionally stable and well. To the pendulum swinging the other way, which I know you can relate to. I resented her. I'm like, you know, why am I taking care of your emotional needs? Who gonna take care of the baby, right? You know, and so this swinging pendulum, that it was at a point where I stepped outside of that. And that imagine a girl who, and I thought about, you know, wow, here's this truly self-made woman, this woman who dad died when she was 5, mom went into a sanitarium with tuberculosis when she was 7, died when she was 11, and really fended for herself, like raised herself, you know? And so when I allowed myself to evoke what we talk about many times is a passion exercise of stepping outside of the judgment of a daughter towards a mother, but imagining a girl who, wow, what must that have been like? Raising yourself and going through this process. And one of my favorite life lessons and lines from my husband, Nadir, is, can I see how she drew those conclusions, which is such a perfect place that aligns with Imagine a Girl Who. When I think about, well, can I see how she came to some of the conclusions and made some of the choices? Why, yes, I can.
Whether you like it or not.
Right. But I that compassion allowed me to have a better sense, seeking first to understand. Right. And so that's one of the big takeaways that I hope that we are able to go through in this process and in this journey, where people can feel okay about when they're not okay, and feeling okay about when they feel misidentified with their labels, like what does this role mother require? What does it really mean? Oh, excuse me, 1 second. Genia, take over the chat. I realize I'm about to lose juice. I'm plugged in.
Okay, well, we wouldn't want to do that because we don't want to lose my mother.
Right. I have no juice. Okay.
No. You got some juice now?
I got juice now.
You got the juice now, guys.
I got the juice.
Okay, yes. Wait a minute. But before you continue, what movie is that?
I got the juice?
Yeah, what's the movie?
The movie.
Juice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just put it out there.
Okay, look. Intro of Omar. What y'all know about that? Yeah. Yeah, but so that's really, I just wanted to share that I just really, madness in miracles, that being okay with our madness.
Yeah.
Like, come on, first we have to own it. We got to own it before we can even transform it. And so it's not an excuse of, but it is an understanding of, like, well, what brought me to that conclusion? What brought me to that decision? And looking at the choices that we made, and really being honest, authentic, and being in a vulnerable place of really acknowledging, first of all, and this is really what it's about. It's about our story, right? And this is really where the shift happens. At the end of last year, when I launched the group collective book, Women Who Illuminate, was when I launched our SOS, Shift Our Shit program, because I was in the midst of that. And, we are always shifting our shit, and our shit is our story. And sometimes we don't even recognize where the story came from. Like, the stories that we've made up in our head have come from other stories that we've been attached to in all of the relationships in our life. And it is so easy to get stuck in our story because of how we have come to identify with a label, identifying with the label of being a mother, identifying and what that means, and what it means to identify with the label of being a sibling, or whatever that label is, and whatever judgments or story that we have around it can create blind spots. And so this is an opportunity to really take off the blinders. And like I said, it was just that Imagine a Girl Who process with my mom that freed me from my own blinders of, quote, what a mom should be. Because here's the thing, people, there are no instructions that come with you little people.
Right.
You know?
Like
And
all the books in the world, they're still different people. They're not machines.
right. Yeah. So you know, what's the real guidance here for one person birthing another person and guiding that person to become a person that they haven't even figured out how to become, that they're in the process of becoming, while they're teaching you how to become what they haven't become yet.
Say that again 3 times.
So this is going to be fun. This is going to be
It
fun.
is. I'm absolutely excited. And
I am.
I want you guys to follow us. You want to put that up, Mom? Follow us on our social media, Instagram and Facebook. It's the same. Okay. It's Mad Miracles fan page. You can do that. Facebook, Instagram. We're going to be going live. These lives will be on Facebook as well as on YouTube, and we'll post some snippets and whatnot on IG. Actually, we could probably post these on IGTV, but we want you guys to follow us, follow the journey. And like we said in the beginning, it's not about us, even though we're talking about us. But think about a really good book that you read in someone's life and you can take something out of it. That's really what we're seeking to do, is just to share. It'll be healing for us, as well as sharing some tips and tools that will hopefully heal you or give you validation that you're on the right track. We just thank you so much for joining us on this Mother's Day edition. We'll be coming to you live every week. We don't, we'll pop up in your live feed, so then you can follow us. So look, it's called MaDness and Miracles. So you can follow us at Mad Miracles fan page. Again, that's Instagram and Facebook. This is going to be a really great journey. And for those of you who have been following us, you're going to learn so much more about our journey that I feel will also empower you even more for your own relationships. And then for those of you who are new, hey, new friends, we can connect. We'll share some tools. We'll see what you all have to share so that we can learn from you too. But I will say, we are a product of the product. And a lot that, everything that we share is based on our experiences, our research, our ... our lives. So, Mom, you want to close this out?
I am, and I'm going to tell the truth to myself about myself, to free myself before we go.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited and I'm looking forward to this. And you know what? I'm scared and I'm going to do it anyway, because this is scary. This is some scary shit. Like, really? Yeah. I'm like, ah!
Skin off.
Yeah. This is gonna be skin off, and as excited as I am, that's how nervous I am. And so I'm gonna dive in head first. I'm ready. You know what? I'm ready to swim because I know I'm not gonna sink.
Exactly.
Because I got my girl.
We'll say, I got your life jacket, boo.
Okay, and I got you. So I invite, we're just inviting each of you to dive in with us on this journey of madness and miracles, and invite you to uncover your own madness along the way and be open to endless, bountiful miracles that await you. So stay tuned for Madness and Miracles. Again, as Genia shared, follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook at Mad Miracles fan page. So we're going to see you. And in the meantime, and in between time, follow Genia, create a magical day, keeping things magical, and join me and Kev Cove for the Breath Connection Monday through Friday. Because this is the last week that will be Monday through Friday. So I really want to invite everybody to dive in this week. After this week, we'll be shortening that time. Since we're coming up out of this virus, we were Monday through Friday every week, but we'll be shortening that time. But join us this week. It'll be 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 Central, 7:30 Pacific. And stay tuned. And get ready to bring some mimosas, some Shirley Temples, whatever you want, because it's going to be a chance for you to let your hair down, take your skin off, and do you and be you, and get ready, get raw, get real. Can't wait for you to join us with Madness in Miracles. And I can't think of a better mad partner to do this journey with than my fabulous, joyful Genia. So we love you all. Thank you for hanging out with us this evening, and enjoy the rest of your magical miracle Mother's Day. So
Love
long.
you, Mom.
Love you, babe. Mwah. Ciao, everyone.